there's one person in this room without whom this project really wouldn't have got off the ground. Archbishop Jeremy was one of the most enthusiastic and encouraging supporters of the idea behind this project, and I'd like to introduce him now and invite him to do an official thing for us. Welcome, Archbishop Jeremy.
An official thing. When I was about 20, I was head barman and chief cellarmaster at the Jolly Farmer in a little village called Chalfont St Peters in Buckinghamshire. It doesn't get much more English than that. The Jolly Farmer was one of 5 pubs in the village. Each pub had a darts team, a football team and a cricket team. And after every game or match, the team and their supporters would come back to the pub, celebrate their victories or drown their sorrows, and engage in animated and then drunken conversations about the game. And apparently this is a thing for people who do that sports stuff, that after the footy, people grab a drink and they talk about footy. Yeah, it's fantastic.
It is true.
Yeah, no, apparently. And my experience is that mostly after worship, people grab a drink and they talk about footy. Which of course excludes me instantly. We gather for one of the most significant things that we can do as human beings. I'm not talking about sport. And afterwards we talk about just about anything else. Yeah, it's a curious thing. And I don't think it's because we're any less passionate about our faith than we are about our sport. I rather think it's because we just haven't had practice. And perhaps despite having so much religious language at our disposal, we really don't know how to use it. And so rather than have a go, we fall back into talking, and you'll see that I'm faking it here, we fall back into talking about whether Harvey Reid from West Coast was or was not justified in giving Lions fans the finger after they offered him tissues. I've got no idea what that means. But, and whether by cracking down on this thing, officials are bashing the theatre out of the game. Much safer ground than talking about how I experienced God in the last week. And if we can't do it, it's hardly surprising that others find it really hard. And one of the wonderful things about ASKaround and innerVIVID is that they offer some models of how we can ask and answer really important questions. Questions that human beings have been wrestling with and wondering about for millennia. Spoiler alert, tomorrow in my sermon at the Cathedral for the Feast of the Annunciation, I think I'm going to say something like, prayer is a sort of pondering in God's presence, that careful and deep wondering. It's more than a casual thought. It requires thoughtful and thorough examination of a matter, often for a noticeable period of time. It's not something to be measured in 6-minute increments. And the Annunciation Gospel describes the angel's visit to Mary, and when the angel greets her, Mary is described as being perplexed and pondering what the words might be about. innerVIVID and ASKaround invite us to ponder, to sit a bit longer with our questions, to resist rushing to religious language and to find some words that might be right for a time with the people that we're with. And we all need more space for pondering in our lives. The cards could be used in parishes, in schools, in Anglicare offices, wherever people gather. They could be used in small groups as a way of getting to know people at the start of a meeting. They could be used in cafes or pubs or anywhere else. I was talking to one school chaplain who said that each week she chooses a card and she sends the question out in her staff email, and people write back, wrestling with the answer. I was talking to Jeff just before, and he said he used it at the beginning of parish council, where there were new members, as a way of helping people learn something about each other beyond whether they like dogs or cats or chocolate ice cream. I know one archbishop who's used them at the beginning of a diocesan leadership team meeting as an opportunity to kind of build relationships and trust amongst a group of people who often find there's a deficit of trust and relationships. So they can be used in all sorts of ways to invite people into conversations that are bigger and deeper than whether Andrews and Neil are better captains than my mate Dane Zorko. How am I doing?
Yeah, pretty good.
So well.
I'm incredibly proud of what Jonathan and Fiona have achieved with all of this, especially when the Archbishop of Sydney and the Bishop of Tasmania asked me what the Diocese of Brisbane is doing for Hope 25. It gives me something I can pick up and wave at the screen in our Metropolitan Zoom meetings. I'm taking 45 sets of cards to the National Bishops meeting next week to say, actually, here is a really significant and important way of not introducing the faith, but of getting people talking about stuff that matters, in the hope that maybe one day they might be ready to talk about things of the faith. So I'm excited that these are cards that can be used in this diocese, around the national church, and even beyond. I think we've had orders from New Zealand already, even before the launch. So it's our gift, not just to this diocese, and when I say gift, actually you need to pay for them, but our gift to the diocese, the national church, and the church at large, as we invite people in to important conversations. So if I had a bottle of champagne, I'd crack it over
Jonathan.
one of the decks of cards. One of the decks of cards. But it's an absolute joy for me to launch innerVIVID and ASKaround, and absolutely commend them to you wherever you are, whichever pub or coffee shop or parish you happen to be in. So thank you very much.